Hello my lovelies, it is time for my January wrap-up vlog, so stay tuned. So it is currently Sunday, January 2nd, and I have completed one book. I actually finished this about 3 a.m. on the 1st, but I'm counting it for January because I had already finished my wrap-up for December. And it was technically on January when I finished it. But I finished Xmas by Kate Bryan. I love Hate Story. And this was super cute. It's about a girl named Lila Beckwith who's 17 years old. She's in her senior year. It's Christmas break. And her parents are finally going out of town and leaving her home alone with her little brother for the first time ever. And she is planning a big outrageous party until her brother kind of ruins her plans. And as sort of a revenge for messing up her party plans, she lets Connor see this article about Santa and global warming. And Connor kind of freaks out because he thinks Santa needs saving. And Connor's 8 years old. And so him and his best friend Tyler come up with this big elaborate plan to go to the North Pole and save Santa Claus. And they live in LA. But these two 8-year-olds somehow manage to get online and buy tickets, train tickets, and get a cab and get to the train station. And yeah, they're on their way at least to Seattle. And it's up to Lila to try to get her brother and his best friend back. But she has to elicit the help of Tyler, Connor's best friend Tyler, his older brother. His name is Bo, which is Lila's ex-boyfriend. And they do not get along at all. But they have to work together in order to get their brothers and get them home in time before Lila's parents get back on Christmas Eve. It was fun. There was hijinks. There was drama. It was just cute and fun. And I find I actually do really like road trip kind of books. And there's definitely a road trip involved. This also worked for my prompt of close quarters because they were definitely in close quarters. And this worked for my TBR knockout for a holiday book. So I did get this done. And I'm going to give this 4 stars. So it is Wednesday, January 5th, and I've completed 2 more books. Last night, Marty and I finished The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and we both give this 5 stars. It's so good. This follows a girl named Addie LaRue who in 1714, she lives in a little village in France, and she's getting ready to be married off to some guy that she really isn't all that interested in, and she has no interest in being tied down to somebody and being tied down to this village. She wants to live and explore and do things and see things. And on the night that she's supposed to get married, she runs away into the woods, pleading to any gods that will hear her to let her live, let her be free. And an ongoing theme throughout this book is to don't pray to the gods who answer after dark. And it is after dark when she is doing this. And this demon appears and makes her a deal. She can live forever. However, nobody will remember her. She can leave no mark behind. She can't damage anything. She can't write anything. She can't draw. There's so much she can't do. And when somebody talks to her, they can turn their back, and when they turn back around, they've forgotten her. So finding places to even sleep is hard, because it's not like she can pay for a room, because she can pay for a room and they'll leave her to it, only to turn their back around and go, there's somebody that's in here that's not supposed to be in here, because they don't remember her. They don't remember her pain, things like that. So she can really have no place to live. She can't have any lasting kind of relationships. Like, she can have this amazing one-day relationship with somebody and then sleep with them and all of that, and then when they wake up the next morning, they're confused by who this person is in their bed, and it's heartbreaking to her every time. And she's lonely. And then one day she meets a boy in a bookshop named Henry, and Henry remembers her, and this starts this just amazing journey between them. And I can tell you, I was boo-hooing. Oh my goodness, it got me. And yeah, 5 stars. And then I finished a what the fuck kind of book. I finished What Big Teeth by Rose Sabo, and when I finished it, I just kind of sat there like staring into oblivion for a little while going, what the fuck did I just read? So as I was going through it, and I got like 70 something pages in, I was like, I'm so totally confused, but I'm gonna keep going because maybe it'll answer things later. And then when I got like 75% of the way through, I was like, I'm still so totally confused, and I don't think it's gonna fix. And by the end, I was still pretty confused. This follows a girl named Eleanor who, when she was like 6 or 8, something like that, she gets sent away by her family. Now, her family is like a bunch of werewolves. She has yet to come into her teeth or anything. But yeah, her family is a bunch of werewolves. And she gets sent away for doing something terrible when she's like 6 or 8 years old. Apparently, she swallowed a boy whole. And it's now like 8 years later, and she comes home, and there's like a party to celebrate her coming home. However, nobody really seems all that welcoming. And then her grandmother reads her tarot cards and pulls this card that's, she's like, I didn't draw this, and freaks out and tells Eleanor she needs to take care of the family and take care of the business and don't let any strangers in the house. And then she dies, like right then and there. And this happens in the first little bit of the book. And also the mother, I don't even know what is up with the mother, but like half her body's covered in these polyps, and she has to stay in the bath 24 hours a day. That's never really explained. I don't know. And the grandfather is pretty feral. Like, if you're even a little bit nervous or walk too fast or anything, he's gonna chase you down and bite you. And Eleanor, she is something different than the rest of this family, and the grandmother knew it. But when the grandmother passes away, she has realized that she finds out that there's another grandmother in Paris, and so she writes to this grandmother asking her for help because the rest of her family doesn't really seem to like her very much, and she doesn't know how to like take care of a household and all of this stuff. And when this grandmother appears, she's something even worse. And Eleanor is the same kind of thing as this grandmother, or grandmère. Also, there's like a zombie creature kind of thing in here, and a ghost. Yeah, it's really, really weird. I was torn between either a 2.5 or a 3, because I didn't hate the book. I didn't really like the book either. I was very confused, but I was entertained. So I think I'm going to give this 3 stars. So it is Saturday, January 8th, and I've completed 2 more books. So the first book that I finished was Heart Song by TJ Klune. This is the 3rd book in the Green Creek series, and this follows Robbie. He's our main character this time, and it's actually set a few years past Raven's Song, which was the last book. And something's happened. Robbie is no longer with the Bennett clan, and he doesn't remember anything about the Bennett clan, and has kind of been brainwashed to believe that they are the enemy. And this was very different from the other books. I really enjoyed it. Also, Ace rep in this one because Robbie's mate is Ace, and so we get a little bit of that conversation in here as well. It was very cute. I enjoyed it a lot, and I give it 4 stars. And then I finished DC Superhero Girls in Metropolis High, written by Amy Wolfram and illustrated by Yancey Labatt. This is a cute little graphic novel. I would say this leans more towards like middle grade. I don't know if it says it in here or not. Yeah, it says ages 8 to 12. So it is definitely fitting for like a younger audience. It was cute. It follows these superhero girls in high school who they are repeatedly late to school because they're busy saving the world. Sorry, Einstein's barking and I can't get him to stop. I don't know what he's barking at. But they're busy saving the world and they end up late for class. Nobody at the school knows that they're superheroes except for each other. And the principal tells them they must all join an after-school club. They need to get more involved with the school or they're going to be suspended. And they really, really struggle with finding clubs where they can not only fit but enjoy and not end up blowing their cover or anything. Like Supergirl tries for the track, but that doesn't go over well because she's a little too fast. Anyway, this is cute. I give it 3 stars. It is Tuesday, January 11th, and I've completed 2 more books. I actually finished both these books on the 9th. The first one I finished was Things I Can't Explain by Mitchell Kriegman. This is, it follows Clarissa Darling. And if you watch the show, Clarissa Explains It All back in the 90s. Clarissa was this little teenage girl back then, and it was a fun, cute sitcom. But now she is in her 20s. She's living in New York City and struggling with being an adult and knowing that there's a lot she doesn't know after all. And she's dealing with family drama with like her parents, dealing with the trouble her brother Ferguson has gotten into, dealing with feelings about Sam, her best friend. Her love life in general is just chaotic. And she's also currently unemployed because the newspaper that she worked for, she's a journalist, they went out of business, and so she is struggling to find a job before she gets kicked out of her apartment and has to move back home. This was super cute. I really enjoyed it. I give it 3.5 stars. It could have gotten higher, but I felt things were lacking at the end, and I didn't like how it just ended and left us not knowing some things, and I wanted to know those things. I think this would make a really excellent TV show. I think this would be fun to see these characters brought to life, even if it wasn't necessarily Clarissa Darling. But this gave me like Sex and the City vibes when they're all like early 20s. And it also gave me Confessions of a Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella, where Clarissa is all about fashion, but like she knows she can't like get this super expensive stuff, so she does a great at finding thrifts and all of that. Like I said, this is cute. I give it 3.5 stars. And then I finished my buddy read, which was a reread of The Bang Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, and Maureen Johnson. I give this 5 stars. I freaking love Magnus Bane. I thoroughly enjoyed rereading it. I'm giggling a lot throughout. Some of it is sad. It's such a good time. And it's a collection of little short stories that follow Magnus Bane all through the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices. It's like before he's ever involved with any of them, and just a lot of things in between. And we get to see stuff like, you know, why he got kicked out of Peru, and him trying to figure out what to get Alec for a birthday gift. And this was just, it was so much fun, and I give it 5 stars. So it is Sunday, January 16th, and I've completed 2 more books. Well, I actually read one, and I started another and DNF'd it. The one that I completed, like fully read, was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This was a reread for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been so long since I've read it that I really just didn't remember most of it. And I was still not prepared for the things that happened towards the end of this. I really look forward to continuing the next book. If you don't know, Children of Blood and Bone, we have 4 main characters. We have Amari and her brother Anon, and we have Zelly and her brother Zane. Zelly is a diviner. She's got the white hair. She was born to eventually become a magi, but magic has been taken from the land, so nobody's actually turning into a magi. And Zane is her brother. And their family struggles. Taxes are ridiculous. They keep threatening to take Zelly away and put her in the stocks because they're treated lower than low. And then Anon is the crown prince, and Amari is the princess. And their father, the king, he's this cruel, ruthless ruler, and he is the one that got rid of magic. And there has been a scroll discovered that, when touched, brings a diviner their magic. And Amari's best friend, also a servant of the castle, her name's Binti, and she is brought in to the king and is forced to touch this scroll. And Amari witnesses this and sees that she has this beautiful magic that like lights up the room, and then her father kills Binti. And Amari is devastated, and she steals the scroll and escapes the castle, and she happens to run into Zelly and Zane, and Zelly can't help but help Amari, and they help her escape. And then they are on a quest to bring magic back to Arishka, which is like the world or the kingdom or whatever. And Anon is sent to find Amari and bring her home and bring the scroll home and get rid of this girl that's helped her. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I'm going to give this 4 stars. And then I started Dirty Laundry by Daniel Ehrenhaft. This was something I was going to do as a try a chapter because it has like a really low Goodreads rating. And I found it on Scribd and I started listening to it. I managed to get to page 21. I got through the first 2 chapters. I do not like the writing style. It's this was written back in 2009 or published back in 2009, and it's very, I don't want to say dated, but I don't know, almost seems very juvenile. Like this is, juvenile's not the right word either because it is YA, but it's like if I tried to write a book, this one book, a while back, a couple of years ago, and it was not good. And this is kind of written the same way as that. And I knew that wasn't good, and so I kind of just squashed that. And this is kind of written the same way, and it goes back and forth between people, and it tries to be some mixed media. I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy the narrator, like the narration either for the audiobook. And yeah, so I'm DNFing this, and yeah, that's it. It is Monday, January 17th, and I've completed 1 more book. I finished Percy Jackson's Greek Heroes by Rick Riordan, and this is my favorite. Of all of Rick Riordan's books that I've read so far, this one I was just obsessed with. It's so funny. Like it tells all about the different Greek heroes. Well, like 12 of them, I believe. I don't know if that's all of them, but yeah, 12 of them. Like I said, I don't know if that's all of them, but this was told through Percy Jackson and made for any kid to be able to understand and grasp all of the mythology stuff. But it was told so funny, and I don't know, I just don't know how to explain it. Like the first one, which was Perseus Wants a Hug, that was probably, like, I don't know if that was the funniest one, but that was the perfect way to start this book. And then we had Psyche ninjas a box of beauty cream, Phaethon fails driver's ed, Otera invents the Amazons with free 2-day shipping. Daedalus invents pretty much everything else, and Daedalus is like the father of Icarus, and Icarus is the one that flew too close to the sun, and yeah, it was all of that. Anyway, there's a lot more stories. This was absolutely fabulous, and I'm gonna give it 5 stars. So it is Friday, January 21st, and I have completed one more book. Marty and I finished The Diviners by Libba Bray. This was, I was saying this was a reread for me, but I think this was more of a partial reread, because once we got to a certain point, I asked Marty, I was like, do you remember this from last time? And he was like, no. Yeah, I don't think we ever finished reading The Diviners the last time we read it. This follows a girl named Evie O'Neill, as well as several other characters. Evie, she has been exiled from her hometown, I can't remember where it was, Ohio or something like that, and has to go and live with her uncle in New York City in Manhattan, and he runs this museum of the creepy crawlies, and it's kind of like weird ghostly type things. And what got her sent off was she has a supernatural ability to be able to see a person's past from holding an item of theirs. And she discovered a secret about this boy, and it got into a big deal, and she got sent away because of that. And so she's trying to keep this sort of a secret from her uncle and everything, so that he doesn't want to send her away. And when the police call her uncle to help with a murder case, she is able to use her abilities to kind of help solve this murder. And the murderer is not a likely suspect, and kind of hard to explain. This is really good. We really enjoyed it, and I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. And Marty also gives it 4.5 stars. So it is Saturday, January 22nd. I have completed one more book. I finished Help for the Haunted by Jon Huckeby. And this is about, let's see, what's her name? A girl named Sylvie, who is the only survivor of a horrific event. Her parents essentially are like ghost hunters slash exorcists, and they get called to this church, to go to this church, and they take her along, and her father goes in to speak with this person, and he doesn't come out after a while. And so her mother goes in, and she doesn't come out for a while, and Sylvie, she falls asleep, and eventually she wakes up and nobody's come back out. And when she goes into the church to find her parents, they have been brutally murdered, and she is attacked and wakes up in a hospital. And this is kind of told back and forth between current time, where she is being cared for by her older sister, and her looking back at things in the past and what led to that point, and the man that is getting ready to stand trial for these murders, and she is like the key witness in prosecuting him, though he seems to have an alibi that says it wasn't him. So this was interesting. It had a twist I didn't see coming. I enjoyed it, and I'm giving it a 3.5. So it is January 25th, and I've completed 5 more books. So on the 22nd, I finished Feral Song by T.J. Klune. This is a little ebook novella that goes between Heart Song and Brother Song. Sorry, Einstein's got a squeaky toy. I have to say, I listened to the audiobook of this on YouTube, and I had a problem with the audiobook because there was continuous music played throughout the entire thing, and that was very distracting. It's one thing if music is opening and closing scenes, but for it to be continuous, I find it very distracting, especially when it's too loud and you can't it's not like listening to my own music where I can turn the volume down real low. So that might have taken away from my experience reading this, but this was kind of just what was going on with in everybody's head when Carter left. And I didn't really see the point of making this a separate thing. I think it could have gone into either Heart Song or Brother Song. And I mean, I still enjoyed it, but I don't know. I'm only giving this 3 stars. And then after that, on the 23rd, I finished Love Song Part 2 by T.J. Klune, which is another novella that goes pretty much between Feral Song and Brother Song. And this is Elizabeth and her going through talking about her boys and not letting the depression get to her, and them growing up and what's going on with her with Carter leaving and all of that. I enjoyed this more. I physically read this one, and I give it 4 stars. And then also on the 23rd, I read The Pocket Wife by Susan Crawford. This is sort of a domestic thriller, and it follows a woman named, oh gosh, what was her name? Dana Cottrell. Sorry, Einstein's right here with toys wanting attention. Her name was Dana Cottrell, and it starts out with a murder scene pretty much. And her best friend has been murdered, and she's the last person that probably saw her alive. But she doesn't really remember that whole incident. They were both drinking. She recalls getting angry, and she doesn't really remember anything else. And she thinks that she might have actually murdered her friend. So she starts kind of trying to investigate this murder herself to see if she can figure out what happened, because she wants to know whether she did it or somebody else did it. And she starts finding out all kinds of other things. But we also have an incredibly unreliable narrator, because Dana Cottrell has got some issues. It says that she's manic depressive, but it seems more like she's bipolar and possibly borderline schizophrenic. She is definitely, you don't know what's real with her most of the time. We also have the perspective of the cop who is investigating this, and the pressure that he's under to solve this case and everything. And the outcome of this, I didn't see coming. I enjoyed this a lot, and I give it 3.5. And then on the 24th, I finished Undercover Bromance by Lisa K. Adams, and I love this. It was freaking fabulous. This is the 2nd book in the Bromance Book Club series, and this follows Mac, and he's the only single guy that's in the Bromance Book Club. He's actually the founder of the Bromance Book Club, and he's a bit of a ladies' man. He's also quite wealthy and successful, and when he finally decides he wants to kind of settle down, he's being told things like he's too perfect. It's hard to know that he's authentic when he's playing things by the book, you know, by the manuals, as he calls them, the romance novels. And then he meets somebody that kind of doesn't like him at all, and it's a fun hate to love kind of thing. And in the first book, our main character, or the love interest of the main character, her name is Thea, and her sister Liv, she is one of the characters in here. She is a pastry chef at the Savoy, and the owner, manager, you know, the head guy there, he's a dirtbag, and he has been sexually harassing women for years. And Liv discovers this, and she gets fired and kind of blackballed because of him, and can't get a job anywhere else. And she's fighting to take him down and save other women from him. And I loved it, and I give it 5 stars. And then also on the 24th, I finished The Fairest of Them All by Carolyn Turgan. And this is a Snow White / Rapunzel retelling. Yeah. So it's the story of Snow White, but it's also the story of Rapunzel. It starts out with the story of Rapunzel, and Rapunzel ends up as the character that is the evil queen in Snow White. She becomes Snow White's stepmother, and that alone was a really interesting take for me. But the things that happened, the twist that came in this last, like, this much of the book, I was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So I do need to say trigger warnings for adultery, incest, miscarriage, abortion, and mentions of rape. Like, it mentioned that people were raped, not like the scenes of that happening. Yeah. This got dark and twisted. Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to give this a 4.5. I really, really loved it. I'm kind of taking away the 0.5 for the ick factor of the incest part. But other than that, loved it. So it is currently Wednesday, February 2nd, and I finished one more book in January, but I hadn't ended this vlog yet. So let me tell you about that. On the 30th, I believe it was, I finished Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kimmer. This follows 2 characters. We have Juliet and we have Declan. And Juliet's mother, she passed away in a car accident and by a hit and run. They never found who was the cause of it. She was coming home early from one of her jobs. She takes like pictures in like war zones and things like that. She's a big time photographer, and Juliet is so proud of her and kind of like aspires to be like her and wants her mother to be proud of her and all that. And anyway, her mother has had this accident, and Juliet's having a really hard time moving on, and it's now, you know, like 4 months after the accident, and people are trying to, like, you know, are almost expecting her to just come on ahead and get over it. But one thing that her and her mom had when she was away was they would write actual letters. Not just, I mean, they would text, they would email, they would video chat, all that, but they would write each other actual letters. And so Juliet would go to the cemetery on a very regular basis, like nearly every day, writing her mother a letter and leaving it on her grave. And then we have Declan Murphy, and he has gotten in trouble and is doing community service at this cemetery. He got in trouble because he stole a vehicle, got drunk, and ran it through a building. And Anyway, he's doing community service at this cemetery, and they're having to like clean all the stuff off the graves, and he comes across her letter, and it's just so moving and everything. And he actually writes in it, "Me too," because he lost his sister died, and his sister died in a car accident when his father was driving. His father is now in prison because of this, because his father was drunk driving. Anyway, at first, when Juliet first sees that somebody has read her letter and responded to her letter, she is beyond furious, because this is a private thing for her and her mother. But over time, they end up forming this sort of anonymous pen pal kind of relationship where they can share things with each other that they don't share with anybody else. And they form this amazing relationship. But in real life, they live very different circles, and Declan is this just outcast hooligan with a bad attitude. And yeah, it goes back and forth between their letters and their perspectives, and this was just so incredibly well done, and it was a roller coaster of emotions for me. My heart, oh my goodness, this was fabulous. I give it 5 stars, and I cannot wait to read the next book, because there's 2 in this series. So that is the last book that I have read. These are all of the books that I read for January. I believe it's 18 books. These 2 are just little placeholders for the little novellas from the Wolf Song series. So yes, I read 18 books in January. Have you read any of them? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!